So, Dean Dairokuno, thank you very much for spending this time with us.
It's my pleasure.
So, one thing that I really wanted to ask in terms of comparing how citizens are engaged in the United States and how citizens are engaged in Japan. In the U.S., the traditional form of civic engagement would be voting, maybe writing your congressman a letter, or protesting, for example.
Petition and things like that, right?
So in Japan, how is the civic engagement process similar or different, do you see?
Actually, we have everything you have, but the thing is that the extent that people use those measure to try to influence the decision of the government, whatever the level of the government they may be, right? But until really recently, there's a tendency among the people to rely on the personal relationship with representatives, well, especially in the local government level. Well, I know you, I support you, so that's why you have to take care of me. Well, that kind of a relation actually still exists, and then, well. Boarding. Well, so boarding, that means you have to board for the political parties, right? Usually. So then political parties. But in Japan, people do not really rely on the label of the political party.
I'm so sorry. I should turn this off.
Whether it is Democratic Party, what we do have now, Democratic Party of Japan, I don't think it's democratic at all. But also we do have another major party, Liberal Democratic Party, which is neither liberal nor democratic. Well, anyway, but we do have the party organization, but people do not really support the party too much. Well, it happens to be a member of Democratic Party or Liberal Democratic Party, who I mean, the person happens to be either one of them. So you support, but he moved to another party. Your support moved to another party.
Right.
So we don't really care about party too much. Well, nowadays, however, many scholars are talking about. I mean, many scholars, political scientists, back in Japan, talking about the importance of the policies. So if policies, if Japanese people care about the policies, they care about political parties, right? However, it's about 30-40% of the people say we care about the policies, but they care about parties. But the rest of the people say, well, I don't care, or I don't know,
right?
So I guess party allegiance or party affiliation is not so strong as the one you can find in the United States. So of course, I know that the change in party support among the American people. However, we don't really care about party too much compared to the situation here.
That's very interesting. And it is, as you said, something I think that is also changing in the U.S. Is people are becoming less affiliated with the parties and more along the issues and problems that are most related to them. So it's very interesting.
Right. But well, I've been watching one particular phenomenon right now. Well, every Friday, well, the huge number of people get together around the Prime Minister's office. Well, regardless of the gender, regardless of the ages, well, they just come, and then they're quiet, but they just the raised plate saying no more nukes.
Huh.
Well, this is very new, I guess. In the 1960s and 70s, we had very radical student movements, just like the one you can find in France, and also in the United States, and which were heavily influenced by the idea of the socialism, things like that. Right? When I was at the University of California in 1974, well, actually in the 1970s, well, one of the park was renamed as Ho Chi Minh Park by the students, very radical students. So those movements were very, ideological, right? But now, movement by the people to oppose the nuclear reactors are not ideological at all. They're ordinarily, men and women, but just wives, and just on the way back, just through the Twitter, they find that they oppose one nuclear reactor. I agree. So just come over.
Right.
And then many different types of people. Some of them are very ideological, maybe affiliated with some of the parties.
Right.
But the majority of the people do not affiliate with any parties. And then they're so different in classes or in maybe in income. Well, they simply don't want to have nuclear reactors anymore.
Right.
Well, that I really sympathize with the people who had to evacuate from the area close to nuclear reactor sites, maybe almost 60 kilometers radius within this area.
Right.
People had to evacuate, and almost 200,000 people still in a different region. They couldn't go back.
Right.
So those things have been reported, and then we have learned for sure that there had been formed a kind of what can I say, formed a structure in which electric company, the construction company, and the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Industry and International Trade, and also Hitachi, Toshiba, all those nuclear reactor makers actually formed a very close relationship, and they formed what we call the nuclear village. That they tried to conceal the information which is not really good for them, and then try to hide all the defects of the nuclear reactors. Then we learned that, and then we saw the result of the meltdown of the nuclear reactors. That we feel it. So simply, people just express their opinion straight.
Right.
We don't want it. Right. That's a very new phenomenon that might change the the basic framework of the Japanese politics in the future, and then existing political party actually have not been able to respond to this new situation. Right.
Well, because in Japan isn't, I was talking with Professor Matsuzaki-san, and he said maybe like 30 to 40% of electricity is generated by the nuclear reactors.
Right.
So there would be a significant hurdle to try to overcome.
Right. But you know that although this is true, well, all the 52 reactors, well, actually, except two, once all the 52 reactors stopped.
Right.
Right. And then now 2 of them actually go back to work to
Only
be
two?
operated. Only 2.
Really?
So 50 were now off, but we don't have any problems.
Really?
So again, we learned another fact. Well, we've been told without electricity generated by the nuclear reactors, we only have the blackouts every night.
Right.
But it is not the case.
Huh.
We learned how to conserve energy.
Really?
So, well, we don't have any problem. Well, problem maybe with the industry. Not the supply of the electricity, but the cost of the electricity. Because they are replacing a nuclear reactor with natural gas turbine generators. That cost more than nuclear reactors. So the industries are worried about increasing cost of energy. So they're really pushing the government to restart the nuclear reactors. But the ordinary people, they don't have any problem with the supply of the electricity. So they just simply go out and say, no, we don't want it. Well, just imagine that, Japan is a country of earthquakes, right? We just cannot escape from this, situation. That's a natural global structure. Right? So that we should expect another big earthquake within the 30 years. But some scholar says maybe it may come within a few years, but nobody knows.
Right.
So with in the country where you have to expect a huge earthquake, do we have to have nuclear reactors? Well, that's one question, right? That's a very serious question we have to have.
Right.
So now people are asking themselves, well, what kind of society we'd like to have? That's the beginning of a question for politics.
Right.
Why some people do not want to ask this kind of a question? Why? They may be able to get some benefits from not discussing about this issue, right?
Right.
So this is a kind of a realization among the public that we have to closely watch now what what politicians are doing. Well, I guess this may be the beginning of a change of Japanese thing. I guess it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.